I built this n8n automation workflow to actually replace the traditional way of requesting paid timeouts and their approvals. So usually we simply fill out forms or simply send an email to the HR, and there is a lot of friction in between them. So to simply reduce the friction out here, so the employee just have to give out the reason and give the you know exact date and time for the timeouts, and actually mention the bot, this particular bot that we are built. So and simply send a message with it. So that particular mention will be read by Gemini agent right here, and we will be extract the dates and the reason for the timeout, and that particular information will be sent or posted to the HR Slack channel itself. So approving the leave is so goddamn easy for the HR from now, because all they have to do is to react with the check mark. That's it. That's it. So all they have to do is just to react with the check mark, and the leave will get approved, and that particular information will also be saved in the Google Sheet, and at the same time an event will be also created in the shared Google Calendar, like time off for this particular employee, and also yeah, everything will be in place. And currently, just because of this is an MVP, I didn't included the rejection logic, because it can be extensible. I mean, technically expandable. So, but just because this is an MVP and more like a demo, so it is what it is. So yeah, firstly, I will simply show you the demo, and after that, I will explain you how the data will actually flow from node to node from the beginning to the ending. So yeah, so let us test the system live. So I'm going to open the Slack and send a simple message like this, and the reason was work trip, lol. So yeah, I simply sent a message. So a new exhibition should be done. Okay, we should be, yeah, this was the latest execution, 1909. Okay, so apart from that, you know, the information should save in our Google Sheet. So yeah, and even the reason was also got saved, and the exact time from 3 to 7. Okay, perfect. And we should be receiving a request in HR request Slack channel. Okay, we simply received one. So the HR just have to be react with this particular emoji to simply approve the leave. So let us simply click this. Okay, and as soon as possible, a new execution should be, yeah. Just have a look and let us wait for it. Okay, it actually notified the employee. Let us just verify that. Okay, just enough. So perfect. Everything looks cool. And we also have to verify in in the Google Sheet, right? So the status was approved and approved by the HR. And you can also check the Google Calendar event, so that it was a shared calendar. So you can actually, all of your teammates can actually see, okay, this particular person will be on leave. I mean, we can also add the name, but I was just being lazy, so nothing so serious about it. This is how the system will actually work in life. Okay, now let me just explain you how the data will actually flow from node to node from the beginning to the ending, right? So, but before that, just make sure you actually, make a note of these particular headers right here, so that you can simply replicate this particular Google Sheet in your own system. And at the same time, you also, take the calendar IDs, okay? Because, we will be needing to be used in the configuration ID, configuration node. And at the same time, you also take the Slack channel IDs too. So, okay. So these are the requirements for now. Okay. And after that, okay, let us simply start. So firstly, you know, the workflow will get triggered for two particular events: when the bot or the app was mentioned, or when the reaction was added. Okay. So, even though there are two, two events right here. So the mention will be used by the employee to actually request a paid leave, and the reaction will be used as an approval from the HR. So two different events for two different tasks. Okay. So don't simply, think why the hell we simply, trigger the workflow for two particular events. Okay. So after that, we will have the if node, and we will check whether the type was actually reaction added or not. So if the type was not, I mean, technically, if the message type was not equal to the reaction added, then we will move forward. Okay. But if let's say if the message type or the event type was actually reaction added, then we will be move forwarded to this particular workflow. And at the same time, we will also have another particular thing where we will directly check whether you know it was more like a second step verification right here. So nothing so serious about it. Let us ignore the HR approval thing for now. So let us continue with the PTO request thing. So okay. So let's say if the particular message type was not a reaction added event, okay. So then there will be only another event possible, which was nothing but app mentioned, right? So that blindly means the person will actually use the bot to actually request a pay time off, right? So we will simply give all of these things right here in the config node and move forward, and we will simply use the Gemini to simply grab the whole things, okay. So out of the user message, the Gemini will completely read the unstructured information and give us these particular information like the start date and the end date and the reason for the leave from the user message itself. Okay, and after that we will actually pass the starting date and the end date and the reason too. So after that we will actually check our Google Calendar whether we have any events in our shared calendar or not. So and let's say if there is a conflict, or if the if the calendar is kind of busy, then we will simply notify them about the busy schedule about I mean to the user. So let's say if there is no conflict or no other events planned, so then we will actually post the PTO request to the Slack HR channel, okay. And after that we will simply log the pending request right here, so nothing serious. And after delivering the particular PTO request to the HR, you know let's say if the HR wanted to approve that particular leave request, okay. So what he or she will do is he will simply uh, perform a react to that particular request with a tick mark. That's it. Technically the check mark. So it will automatically move forward with this particular execute with this particular if node logic. And after that we will actually get the thread. Technically we will actually grab the text content of the particular message, and after that we will actually give all of these things right here. And after that we will check whether the reaction name was white check mark, and this was the approval check mark ID in Slack, okay. So don't confuse right here. And after that we will check whether the HR channel ID was actually mentioned, matched. And we will also check whether the reactor ID was equal to the HR admin's user ID, because not all the tick marks will be will should allow the or should accept the paid request, right? Paid time offs, right? So for that reason we will simply do. So after that we will simply create an event for that particular users leave, like this. And after that we will update the Google sheet, and after we will simply notify the employee about the status of the leave request. So yeah, this is how the data will actually flow from node to node, from the beginning to the ending. But uh, it simply built especially for one single reason, to actually reduce the friction and to reduce the gap between the founder or the management and the employees, right? So that's it for today, guys.